Hello and welcome to episode 333 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. Before we start, a huge thank you as always to our TSP Patreon community, because we couldn't make the show each week without your loyal support. A few new people in the community this week as well. So welcome to Saint Pad and Martin Borman, who have joined the TSP supported tier on Patreon. RH has joined the same tier through our YouTube membership, and Liam Fallon has joined our Bobby Stokes tier. So thank you again. We really do appreciate your support. Coming up this week on the podcast then, away at Hull was supposed to be the game which would kickstart the season. And that didn't really go to plan. So we'll look back at that 3-1 defeat. And it's a 2-game week, a trip to Premier League leaders Liverpool in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday evening. And then early Championship leaders Middlesbrough come to St Mary's on Saturday. So a nice, easy couple of games for us to preview. My name is Martin Stark, and joining me this week on the podcast, Steve Grant is the owner of Saints Web. Glenn Delacour is writer of the blog League One -10, and Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo. So last weekend we wasted the first half, and this weekend we went one better, and we wasted both halves. So 5 games without a win. A lot of angry people yesterday, Glenn, after the game. On the manager? Is it on the players? Is it a bit of both? What are your thoughts after that result?
Well, clearly it's on both. The one thing I will say straight away about Will Still is that he's not deluded. You see some performances that are pathetic, and the managers come out and say something, and you think, you ain't watched the same game as us. That was garbage. Will Still, he seems to... Everything he says after the game, I agree with. I put yesterday firmly in the court of the players, really. If you don't win a header in either penalty area, you ain't going to win a game in the Championship. It's as simple as that. And that was pathetic. I know I'll get accused of having an agenda again. The goalkeeper on the first goal, absolutely pathetic. Rorsleff and Harwood-Bellis getting beat in the air by 5'9" Joe Gelhardt on that goal. And then you had the Harwood-Bellis show on goals 2 and 3, where he basically short of smashing it in his own net. He couldn't have done any more to give those goals away. Jack Stevens didn't seem to be anywhere. The second goal is actually the worst of the 3 when you consider that Lundstram ran from the edge of their penalty area. No one went with him. Obviously, we gave the ball away, got crossed to the back stick, but Bernie wins the header easily. And if you haven't got the basic desire to defend and to attack a ball, and you're going to get beat in the penalty area in the air that easily, then what are you doing? Are you even a defender? Really, it's just embarrassing to defend like that. Will Still obviously picks the players that start the games, and he's going to have to make some tough decisions, which is what he's paid for. We've got this squad, which is a relatively big squad. If you take a step back and look at it, I'd say we've done the same thing again. We've gone for quantity rather than quality, and he's got to find a way to make that work. And if that means leaving out big name players or players who played in the Premier League previously, then he has to do it, because many more performances like that, and the pressure is going to start to build. But again, you look at the team on paper and think, okay, it's not that bad. But right. some of the substitutions that were made for it, you take Tom Fellows off, it was our best player, really, and you take him off, and everything that happened sort of like post substitutes, it is kind of irrelevant because the game's already dead. I know we scored a nice goal in the last couple of minutes when, ironically, Ryan Fraser became the first player to win a header in the opposition box, all 5'3" of him. Damien Downs, he was useless, completely useless. And the one time he got the ball in the situation that we thought he was good at, going through on goal, he managed to not even get it on target when he just had the keeper to beat. That was really poor, and it was just dreadful all round. Too many players just not putting in the basic requirements that are needed to win games in the Championship, and it was, it was shocking. We've been talking about Flynn Downs and how he struggled with sort of like passing the ball forward, but again, you take him out the team, midfield's gone nowhere. Kasper Yander really struggled in his first game, and it was just poor all round. So I don't think Will still had a great day, but I would say overall the players let him down, especially the defenders and the goalkeeper. It's just basics, and you're not going to win games if players play like that.
You must have been a bit angry, Steve. That's quite a long trip yesterday, and you'd have expected at least a bit of effort.
It was very wet. It was not particularly fun trip. I usually quite enjoy going up there, but it just from the start, since we stepped off the train, oh look, it suddenly started raining just as we've arrived. Great, and it kind of felt like a bit of a metaphor for the entire afternoon, really, where we just never really got going. I mean, looking back at the highlights, you kind of hear Adam Blackmore mention that we'd started the game quite quickly. And it's like, have we? Maybe in comparison to last week, but we were effectively in reverse last week. So I'm not sure standing still is something to necessarily be praised. But yeah, it's just I'm always kind of reluctant to rush to judgment and say, well, correlation equals causation, if you like. Bit of a cliche, but I don't like people are sort of drawing conclusions from the fact that we've obviously gone 4 at the back in the last 2 games, and we've suddenly stopped creating loads of chances. Whereas when we were playing wing backs, we were creating loads of chances and just missing them. I'm not sure that's necessarily I'm not 100% convinced that they're linked. I think ultimately the main problem is that the delivery into the box to create those chances just has gone to shit, essentially. We were putting good balls into the box in those first 3 or 4 games, and the last 2 we just haven't done that at all.
And is that the personnel? Do you think is that the players, or is that just them doing what they're told to do? What do you think's gone wrong there?
I don't think
it seems quite basic, doesn't it?
I mean, I find it difficult to believe that Ryan Manning is deliberately shanking across into the back of the stand. That's not what he's trying to do. And it's just I think you get into this little rut, and suddenly you lose confidence and you kind of stop doing what you're good at. I mean, I think case in point, I don't want to pick on Manning. Actually, he was one of the few that looked vaguely competent for most of his time.
Wasn't the worst, was he?
But I mean, he obviously had a free kick in prime position in the second half. I think we were already 2 down at that point. And I mean, you might as well have been sort of on the side of the rugby league team that also play at that ground, kicking the conversion, because it's not gone anywhere near the goal. It's gone so far up and over. But that kind of shows where we are at the moment in terms of there's obviously been a draining of confidence. The new players coming in haven't hit the ground running like we were hoping they would. Azaz was decent for an hour at Watford, but has basically been anonymous the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. And in the position that he occupies, he's so important that we need him to be kind of constantly involved and always getting the ball into his feet, sort of in between the lines. Did a little bit better second half. There were a couple of times where he managed to kind of nick it past a midfielder and get on the run. But then once again, much like last week against Pompey, the final ball or the final decision to play the final ball was way off. So yeah,
he did send Downs through, didn't he? He did put that pass through.
Yeah, that was a good ball. And in fairness to Downs, I think he was kind of forced to the left by the position of the defender alongside him. So, like where I was stood, it kind of looked like he'd gone completely clean through, and he'd actually elected to go onto his weaker foot. But actually, sort of having seen the highlights back, he's been kind of forced that way. Got decent contact on the on the shot. It's just nowhere near being on target. And when you're that close to goal and you're running effectively through, you just got to hit the target.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times do we see like a centre forward go through in that position? I mean, even if you hit it straight at the keeper, there's a pretty strong chance it goes through his legs because he's not got the time to react to it. So
it's a different game then, isn't it?
Yeah,
different game then if that goes in.
Yeah, you go in there and all of a sudden it's 1-1 and Hull's defensive frailties get put to a bit of a test. But it was noticeable that the Hull manager was actually on did his local BBC radio interview after the game and actually was quite happy to quite sort of freely call out. Well, we've seen that Southampton have struggled with crosses into the box, so we just thought, well, we'll play on that and we'll just put balls into the box and yeah, it caused absolute chaos. So yeah, defensively, I don't quite know where we go from here. I mean, it's not like we don't have a lot of defenders. We've got central defensive options that we can chop and change. I mean, if there was kind of any real suggestion of a meritocracy in terms of selection, then, I mean, as Glenn mentioned, Harwood-Bellis should be sitting out that game next week. Yeah. But we'll see. I would be amazed if he's not named on the team sheet alongside Jack Stevens. But Nathan Wood hasn't really done anything to deserve being left out, so maybe he gets a game alongside instead. And obviously Ronnie Edwards has vanished off the face of the earth because, of course, we want to load the bench up with all the attacking options.
And Joshua Kwasi as well, of course, who was brought in the summer early doors. You know, supposed to be athletic and decent at winning a header, and he can't get anywhere near the first 11 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Kwasi, we obviously saw him have a bit of a struggle away at Ipswich, and was kind of taken out of the firing line for a bit. But yeah,
so also he struggled at Ipswich, and he had that one bad game where he made a couple of half mistakes. One of them led to a goal, I think. Harwood-Bellis just given 3 goals away. Is he going to be out of the team for 6 weeks, or is he going to stay in the team every week?
Well, I mean, let's be honest.
Expect Nathan Wood to come in, wouldn't you?
Let's be honest. I think we know the answer to that. And yeah, realistically, he will probably still be in the side next week. But we'll see.
Yeah. I think the fact that Liverpool game's on Tuesday makes it easier for Will Still, because I personally believe they will go back to the back three, and I believe that he will name Nathan Wood, Jack Stevens, and maybe Harwood-Bellis or somebody else. And I think that they'll put in a 55, 60-minute performance against Liverpool where they look okay, and that would be justification enough to then name a back three again on Saturday against Middlesbrough. That's sort of the vision I see for the next 7 days.
We signed all these wide players to play a 4-2-3-1.
Right, but what you can do is what you can do in theory. If you play a three at the back with the 3 centre halves, you can put Ryan Fraser at right wing back, drop Roslev, and you can play Fraser and Fellows on the right. Both obviously crossed on their stronger feet, and then you can play whether it's Finn Azaz off the left and a number 9 as well, and Flynn Downs and Shea Charles in the middle. So I think there is a team you can put together there with the 3 at the back. So yeah, that's what I see happening in the next couple of days anyway.
Because he said he's not wed to a certain formation, is he, Alfie? But whatever he's tried at the moment isn't working. So he by his own admissions, he's willing to try things just to win games. So you'd expect some changes.
Yeah, and look, he said, regarding Damien Downs starting, that obviously Cam had a bit of tightness, so it sort of made that decision easy, and he just wanted to try something else and give that a try. I think was the exact words with starting Damien. He'll make changes. I'm not massive on managers making changes constantly. It's one of the things I criticised Russell Martin for at the start of the Premier League season. I think you need to have a little bit of stability, a little bit of structure. But ultimately, I know Steve has sort of said that there isn't necessarily a correlation between playing the 2 systems and the outcomes. But in the 3 at the back, they did create loads. Like you can say, for whatever reason it was, but they've got the most XG or top 3 XG in the league because of the chances they created in those games. They've created the square root of fuck all in the last 2 games in the 4 at the back. So everyone's talking about, play 4 at the back. It's 3 is too defensive. Go into the 4, and I don't remember a chance they've had into 2 games. I mean, Adam Armstrong does well to score, to be fair, with his one, but they've not created anything. So for me, I would go back to basics. There's nothing wrong with trying to win a game 1-0. I would go back to basics, put the 3 defenders in. Admittedly, that hasn't necessarily yielded clean sheets anyway. Have a strong midfield of Shea Charles, Flynn Downs, The progression is a problem. How do we get the ball forward? We've seen that be a problem already. But as Glenn said, Kasper Yander clearly is, he struggled. He struggled a little bit at Hull. He probably isn't ready to start again. And then you have to trust that the front three, whichever three you pick, can create something, even if it's out of nothing, which it's not going to be pretty. But Will still needs results at the moment. More than anything.
Can we talk about the strikers? I mean, my God.
Well, yeah. The quote I think was that Damien Downs came in, and I kind of made a note of it because he said, "Well, we may as well try something else," which to me is not exactly a glowing endorsement from your boss, is it? But
the way Will still speaks is like, if you actually watch the clips, it doesn't sound as sort of blasé and casual.
I think that was taken out of context.
So it's not. He's not just saying, "Oh, well, we're chucking darts at a board and seeing what comes up." He's just very relaxed about the way he talks, but
it kind of looks like that. Because
but ultimately, he's got 4 players up front, and none of them are doing it. Basically, Cameron Archer scored 2 goals in 2 games, and he's now got a bit of tightness, and all of a sudden he's written off as an option, which seems strange to me. You say Ross Stewart, clearly, I don't know if it's going to happen for him. Maybe it'd
be his turn next, because you've had Adam Armstrong playing for the first couple of games. He was pulled out of the team because he wasn't scoring.
One of the things that
Cam Archer come in.
Well, one of the things that Will still said at the start of the season to me was, whoever scores goals will play. So on that note, Adam Armstrong will start the game. Should start the game up front, and because he scored last, basically. Which, I think that might happen.
Yeah, but it was a real realization yesterday that we've got 4 strikers to occupy that central striking position. We play a style of football that needs someone to be able to be a strong player, attack headers, be a nuisance. We've got 2 tall lightweight strikers who can't do that. We've got 2 small lightweight strikers who can't do that. So what do we do? That's every team we've played against seems to have had a striker who would be more suitable than the 4 that we've got. So just off the top of my head, Wrexham had Kiefer Moore, Ipswich had George Hurst, Stoke had the lad who got sent off, who was a handful before he got sent off, whose name escapes me, Mubama. They had him. Pompey had Colby Bishop. Hull had Ollie McBurney. Now, if we'd have been linked or signed any of those players in the summer, we would have probably been going, we'd have been going, oh, we don't want them. They're not good enough. But they'd
have scored 8 goals already this season.
I'd have taken, having seen what I've seen, I think this is benefit of hindsight, but you'd take every single one of those players over what we've got up front.
Well, Glenn, I listened to Ollie McBurney. So we were sat at the back of the room sort of doing our work when Ollie McBurney came in to do his interviews with the local Hull press. And one of the things that he said was Ryan Fraser said to him at the end of the game that
I heard about
he wished he had McBurney up front to aim for. And I think, look, it's
not good, is it?
I think it's fair enough. It's a shame, but you're right. Because if you signed Ollie McBurney in June, everyone's going, why are we signing him? Second-rate Championship player. But the way they're playing is perfect for them. And Johannes Spors might have done a lot of brilliant things this summer, and also Damien Downs might still come good. But at the moment, it's very much looking like Johannes has let Will Steele down there with Damien, and that he's not what they need right now, and that's a problem.
We're back to the recruitment thing again, though, aren't we, Glenn? We haven't brought in the right, it would seem, and you have to take it in the context of it has only been 6 games and it's early doors. But you're looking at some of the players they brought in the summer, and they've not improved the side. They can't even get in the side.
Well, there's 3 that have come in from Bundesliga 2 who are young. So you got Kouaji, you got Yander, and you got Downs, who are all under 22. None of them look ready to make an impact. And it's early days. Yander, we've only seen him for 1 game, so that might seem harsh to say that, but they're all the same sort of level player in terms of who they've played for and what league they've played in the past. They're all the same sort of age, so it doesn't, on the face of it, look like they've got it. Cienza might be slightly different, even though he's German football again. He's a little bit older, and he's actually played in the Bundesliga for a season, I think.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it's very slim pickings, but I actually thought he looked quite interesting when he came on.
He's a foul back, isn't he? He wins free kicks every 2 seconds.
He wins a lot of free kicks.
He doesn't have rolled around, though. The first one that he thought he got, basically the ref wasn't having any of it, just told him to get up.
There was 2 hands in the chest. That was a foul.
I think that'll happen quite a lot.
Yeah. But what I liked about him is that he wasn't just sticking to his left wing slot. He was working across. He was trying to make himself available, trying to get involved in the game, because he gave I thought it was a decent attitude to have as a substitute. You know, I'm trying to get myself involved here. I'm trying to do something. If he just stood on the left wing, he would have only touched the ball probably twice. So, you know, he might turn out. He gives me a little bit more confidence as a new player that he might turn out to be a little bit decent. He's obviously confident enough. He wanted to take that free kick that Ryan Manning put on the moon. You know, so maybe the lad's got something about him, but yeah, I mean, it was a big jolt yesterday. I think, you know, I think a number of us thought that you go down to the Championship like we did last time, and you're going to start picking things. You know, things are going to start picking up. But when you have a look at it, someone said to me, replied on Twitter that we got a better squad than we had last time. No, we haven't. No. If you look at off the top of my head, Walker Peters, Adams, Bednarek, Stuart Armstrong, they walk into this team.
Yeah,
they're all better, and I'm sure there's others as well that we haven't got.
Then you had in like Brooks and Rothwell, didn't you?
Brooks, yeah. Oh no, not Rothwell.
Not Rothwell.
Trash,
no,
he's got a couple of good goals there.
No, but I mean, you know, like yesterday. Yesterday was another example of if Joe Aribo's still around, they've got to get him involved again as a cover, as a you know, as an option for the centre of midfield. No, I'm not sure about that. You got a bit of run, haven't you? But so the recruitment at the moment is looking more quantity than quality, which is basically what we did last year. You know, we didn't have a decent enough team to put on the pitch. You know, the team should be first, the squad should be second. And obviously you've got to have a balance there, but at the moment,
clearly these players were bought with the intention of being first team starters because they started the season as such. So your Joshua Kouachi was bought with the intention of starting every game because he started the first 2 or 3.
And maybe they will be in time, but at the moment, based on what we've seen in the opening 6 games, they all look a bit rabbit in the headlights to me.
So how long do we give them? I guess that's the big question, isn't it? How long do you give them? When do we start to panic, Alfie?
Yeah, I tweeted this yesterday. I mean, look, it shouldn't need saying, but more than 3 games is definitely the answer for any of these players. You know, as bad as, you know, I hate to sing them out, but as not very useful Damian Downs has looked, like, I'm not going to write him off yet because there is a lot. You know, he hasn't played many games. It's his first start on the weekend. You know, he should be a while before he gets another one, clearly, but it was his first start. With Joshua Kouachi, it's 2 or 3 games. With Tom Fellows, it's 2. And Tom Fellows looks useful, by the way. Tom Fellows looks like a good player. He's got a bit about him. You know, Leo Cienza, like Glenn says, there's interesting bits there. The fact he can play as a number 10 interests me. So if Finn Azaz does go off the ball for a long period of time, you know, he can come in and play that role. You know, Finn Azaz, you know, again, he's played 3 games. He scores a load of goals, a load of assists in the Championship. So give him more time than he's had. But yeah, you can sit there and watch what's going on and be happy with it. And Will Steele is obvious about that as well. He's pointed that out. You know, he issued an apology to the fans who travelled to Hull, and quite rightly, you know, and he took responsibility for it. You know, he points out the fact that the players have made mistakes, but ultimately, you know, it's up to him. He picks the team. He's you know, they're making mistakes doing the things that he's telling them to do. So he's honest about that. And he admits that and he apologised. And, you know, all we need to do now is just see the team improve. And it's a tough run of games they've got. So it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's a shame it's Liverpool on Tuesday, isn't it, and not someone else. The only other thing they talked a little bit about, you know, the hangover from last season and the team that's being regularly beaten, and obviously, you know, nothing was great, but there's not that many of them. I was looking through earlier today. You got obviously Harwood-Bellis, Stevens, Manning, who were probably regulars last year, Flynn Downs to a certain extent, Cam Archer. There's some new players that they've brought in. I don't know how long they can use that as an excuse for. And I wonder whether
I think it just stinks of it at St Mary's, and I just think they're losers. And I don't mean that in the sense that they're bad people, but they've lost a lot of games. You know, what is it now? It's 3 wins since the playoff final, isn't it, in the league?
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, that is outrageous. Yeah. I mean, think of how long ago that is. You know, they've gone 5 games without winning in the Championship.
Maybe it's more our problem as fans because
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we are the constant, aren't we?
Yeah,
we are the ones that have been there the whole time. And everybody that's going to these games is battle weary, and we know, like, we've seen so many defeats and so many different types of defeat in the last 15 months or so. Like
different ways to lose.
any possible way to lose a game of football, we found a way to do that in the last 15 months or so, and so. I think there has been this. I mean, modern society is a lot more impatient than it used to be. Everything demands an instant reaction. Everything demands instant recrimination for mistakes made, and we see that in political life. We see that in sporting life. Like, managers don't last very long. Like the average tenure of managers, I think, pre-COVID, I think even back then it was like 18 months was your average tenure. I mean, it won't even be close to that now. And I mean, you're going to see a whole load of managers, both Premier League, Championship, because there's so much at stake. Teams are happy to roll the dice. There's enough managers out there who can, if they could just eke something out for a short period of time, then yeah, you make a change and you kind of take the advantage of that. But I mean, it's not like we've really benefited from sort of new manager bounce, is it?
No, not at all. Just wondering about the atmosphere as well. Steve, what was it like in that away? And did the atmosphere turn a little bit? Did it get a little bit nasty?
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, for those that were still there for the last 20 minutes, I mean, like most of my mates decided that the pub was a better venue than that away end for the last 20 minutes once that third goal went in. And yeah, fair enough. I can't really argue with them. Based on what we saw, it was like, well, this is a lost cause. The only thing that kept me in there was basically it was absolutely pissing it down outside, and I fancied staying dry for a little bit longer, and I managed to blag a lift back into town as well. So that was that
not
worked
all
out
bad.
okay for me. But I mean, one thing I do want to kind of bring up actually is this, like with the away end, like that away end was officially sold out about 3 or 4 weeks ago, within a handful of days of going on sale. And where I was stood, basically me and my mates all sort of bought separately, so we were dotted around all over the place. But we went and stood kind of all together, basically right in the middle of the away end, right in the corner. And there was this massive section of seats, must have been about 15 seats wide, and then five or six rows deep that were just empty. Now I'm pretty certain these are like the club sort of player and staff comps complimentary tickets. And yeah, and those were all empty. So clearly no player or that like friends, family or whatever want to go and watch us at Hull. Okay, fine. But surely there is a way, given how all of our away matches are selling out pretty quickly. Because people want their credits and for the Pompey game and this, that, and the other. And actually, people do just enjoy going to away games. Why is it that so many of these games we're seeing this sort of gap in our away end, like literally right in the middle as well? It's always what you would kind of pick as like the prime tickets.
So this you don't think this is people that have bought a ticket and then decided that they don't fancy it because it's no rain and it's hot?
No,
right.
I mean, this was genuinely a big block of seats. So it wasn't like if like two or three people have bought tickets and just decided on the day, I can't be asked. Okay, that's 2 or 3 seats, and they're going to be in there dotted around somewhere. But these were all literally right together. It was a block of about, must have been 150 seats. Where clearly there was nobody that was ever going to take those seats up, and it wasn't like looking around the rest of the away end. It wasn't like, oh, there's just a load of people stood in the gangway and or there's 2 people to 1 seat at the back because it's a particularly better view or anything like that. These were tickets that were not taken up. And
have you seen this before though? Have you seen the kind of thing before?
Yeah,
you think it's not a new problem?
It's not, but it should be a solvable one. I mean, the one that actually sticks to mind was the West Brom playoff away game, where a similar thing happened. We had a big hole in the middle of the away end, and Cardiff away, I think, was another one that season. So it's not a new thing, but the club has got to be more proactive on this because they've got loads of people that want to go to these games and will happily pay money for it. The complimentaries don't. The club has to pay for them themselves. So surely it's in their own interests. Like if like a week before the game or whatever, they work out from all the from whoever's allocated those tickets, you say to them, "Are you going to be using these tickets?" And if the answer is no or I'm not sure, then sorry, tough shit. We're claiming them back, and then we put them back on sale to people, so that those tickets can be used by actual genuine fans.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough for them to say, well, players are entitled to complimentary tickets. Yeah, they are, but not
they have to use them.
But I mean, just look at what it looks like. It looks like we've taken the allocation of 2,500 and we've sold 2,200 of them, and there's a massive bit in the middle where we've just not sold tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks really weird. And I mean, I couldn't give two shits what the average sort of non-Saints fan on social media thinks about this, but there will be people who will be sort of in the comments on these football away days, Facebook groups and things like that, having to defend Southampton Football Club, where they're kind of being laughed at because we've clearly not sold our away allocation for this game. When actually the truth is that they were officially sold out. Like, a fan couldn't get hold of these tickets.
Yeah.
Best part of a month ago.
It wasn't just you either. We've had a few messages and a few comments about it in the chat as well. So it's obviously one of those bigger problems, and maybe we'll keep an eye on that. I want to do Player of the Week in just a moment. That's going to be a very short conversation. So in the meantime, was there anything else on the game? Anything else we spotted? Just want to put to bed?
I did have something. Bear with me. No, only that we said last week that Saints and Pompey were two poor sides, and I got battered for saying that. Various social media outlets.
Follow-up results.
Yeah. So they lost at home in Sheffield Wednesday, and we got battered 3-1 by Hull. So
case in point.
Actually, there was another thing. Will Still said something in the week that jarred a few people when he talked about Flynn Downs. And there were a few comments made about should he have been that specific about a player and criticising him for basically not passing the ball forward. I think he said something along the lines of he was used to just bouncing the ball back to the centre halves, which is the way Russell Martin wanted him to play. I was interested in that because I think managers should be able to be a little bit more honest about players, but as we know, the modern day footballer won't like that sort of thing. I'm sure Alfie likes it when managers are, give good copy like that, and they start saying things that make good articles, good quotes, and stuff like that. And there was someone else compared him to Ronald Koeman, who used to do that sort of thing, and I thought at the end of the day, Ronald Koeman can do what he likes, because at the end of the day, when it push comes to shove, he could turn around and go, "I'm Ronald fucking Koeman," and who, and when football is talked about in 100 years, they'll be mentioning my name, and that's it. So, and then another
that bloody red card in Rotterdam.
Another school of thought was that Will Still is maybe kind of trying to establish some sort of authority by saying this, because maybe in England we're not so accepting of people that come from unusual non-playing backgrounds. Yeah, I mean, legendarily, Clive Woodward, we tried that, didn't we? And that, and no one. So I was just wondering what people thought of that, bearing in mind the sort of pointed nature of what Will Still said during the week.
Do you think there's anything in the fact that he didn't play as well? Then, bearing in mind that he kind of down tools a bit last year, didn't he? And he was after the move. Do you think there's anything more to it than the fact that he was ill again?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know that he has a history of illness, so it's not exactly a massive surprise if he misses days of training through illness. And Will was quite complimentary about Caspiander in the build-up to the game, so it was quite likely just an easy chance to take Flynn out and have him miss a day or two, and use that as a sort of a rod to do it with, I guess. But I mean, on Glenn's point, I mean, personally, I think at the end of the day, whether he's played or not, and I get it, obviously, I understand the whole Ronald Koeman point, but whether he's played or not, he's been picked to be the manager of the club for a reason. And he has the authority to do and say pretty much what he likes in terms of that. The players are there to play for him. Now, obviously, he's got to be careful. He's got to be sensible and manage the group and manage the players and stuff like that. But ultimately, they play for him. And if he's pointing out something which is blind in the obvious, and also in that quote, Glenn, he took responsibility for the mistake that Flynn Downs made in a game against Stoke. When he I think it was Stoke, he might have been doing it. When he turned in possession and turned into the midfielder and they conceded. Will still said that was me. I told him to do that. I don't want him to pass it back to centre back, which I said he should have done on the podcast. I told him to turn and to play forward. So he's taking the pressure off of Flynn Downs a little bit there by saying I'm telling him to do that. But it's obvious. When Flynn Downs doesn't make a single pass into the final third against Portsmouth, why should he be immune from criticism for that? The manager's been picked for a reason, so that's my take on it.
So I wonder if the illness might, if he might feel better by Tuesday, maybe, or Saturday. We'll have to see. Right, player of the week then. I guess it's going to be a short list. Steve, anybody? Your face. Anybody that's worth a nod? I was thinking maybe Shea Charles, but
we should talk about goalkeepers before we move on. By the way.
Oh, go on. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean,
there's not a lot to say on it. They've got a choice of two, and it's which ones you want, basically.
Glenn kind of felt like you were going to get a pile on if you criticise Bazunu, don't you? But
I couldn't care less. You've got to pick McCarthy. He's the best goalkeeper. Best goalkeeper we've got.
If you look at the numbers again this season, the numbers in terms of sort of XG prevented, in terms of the quality of chances that Bazunu's conceded, are not actually too bad. But he has got the lowest save percentage of anybody in the league again. And where that can be a cruel mistress because shots can be in the top corner and all this sort of stuff.
Well, look where Lundstrom scored from.
Yeah.
He's got no chance.
Exactly.
He's got no chance on that one. But the first goal, he's dived. He hasn't gone anywhere. He should have just caught it. I don't know what on earth he's doing. You're taught to push the ball away from goal. He's pushed it into the middle of the goal onto the on-rushing player. I'm sorry, that is garbage. And I know Roslev and Harwood-Bellis got beat in the air by Gelhardt, but honestly, that was so bad for a goalkeeper to.
Yeah, there can be more than one thing wrong with a goal, can't there? And clearly there were a lot of things wrong with that one. Yeah. I mean, I like Gavin, and it'd be a shame if I upset him if he cares at all. I think I'm sure he doesn't, but I've been surprised before. But my opinion is that Alex McCarthy's a better goalkeeper with his hands. It's quite simple for me. He saves more, he keeps more out, he catches more. He's got a better command of his area. Gavin's brilliant with his feet, absolutely superb with his feet. But I just think we've seen enough now. I think we've seen enough where it's just too many goals going in. And he's made good saves this season, Gavin. To be fair, he's made the Rex.
Yeah, he has. But he started the season quite well, and I remember saying if he carries on like this, then he's good enough to keep his place, and he's good enough to have a good season. But I also remember saying he can't revert back to what he was before, where he seems to let in every single shot. And as said, the Stoke goal, I was kind of looking at him. The Watford goal, I was kind of looking at him, and that one yesterday was just was just awful. And I just think it's time to pick the more experienced player. And as you said, we're struggling with balls into the air. Let's pick the goalkeeper who's most likely to come out and clear up and take the pressure off by catching a high ball.
Kind of comes back to the Harwood-Bellis thing, doesn't it? In that the Liverpool game on Tuesday might just be at the right time because he comes in, he plays well, and then that makes it a little bit easier for Saturday. So we'll get onto that in just a sec. So player of the week, just to tick it off. Any offers? Anybody at all?
Yeah, we'll stick Ryan Fraser down for the 17th time in a row. Just
player of the season so far after 6 games. I mean, it's nuts. Isn't it?
Yeah, Fellows was decent. Armstrong scored
for the goal,
and it's a lovely goal, by the way. It's a great.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a great finish,
great touch and finish. Yeah. So yeah,
as you said,
I mean, we would be absolutely fuming if we conceded that goal, mind you. Like three defenders all being kind of sent completely in the opposite direction by a Ryan Fraser header. And then leaving Adam Armstrong unmarked 10 yards, basically on the penalty spot, to control it and turn and hit it in the corner.
I think that's the big frustration, though, is that Hull, and fair enough, they were better than Southampton by a mile. They deserve their points. There's no question, but they're not a great team. You know, the fact that we've been bullied by that team is why everyone's so worried and why it's so frustrating, because
it's blueprint for everyone else, isn't it?
Yeah, the first 50 minutes, Steve, you mentioned, did we actually start that fast? Was it actually that good? And probably not on reflection, no. But I did feel in that first 10 or 15 minutes, all right, there's a game to be won here. You know, this team can be better than that team, and they just end up getting absolutely battered. And I just don't know where it came from. I don't know how it was so poor. Don't know where that came from.
The spine. Look at the spine of the Sheffield. I was going to say Sheffield United. For a reason, because they're all ex-Sheffield United players. The spine of the team was Egan, Lundstram, McBurney, 3 ex-Sheffield United players who were all experienced Championship players. I mean, Lundstram was in Scotland, wasn't he? Was he at Rangers for a bit, and then went to Turkey or something? So, you know, these are players that are solid at Championship level, and those 3, and they had all the sort of like pace in various wide areas that caused us problems, and they knew what they were doing. They obviously had the plan. As soon as the ball went wide, get the ball into the back stick, and go for this weakness that we've got, as their manager identified. And so their game plan was simple, and that's the worry for me. It is very simple to replicate for anyone else, isn't it?
And it's it's to the strengths of 55-60% of the teams in the Championship, because a lot of them will have an average side with a decent defence and a battering ram up front.
Yeah.
Do you guess who's got the most possession of any team in the Championship this season?
Is it us by any chance?
Southampton. Yeah. Still keeping hold of the ball. And I think maybe that's the element of where Will Steele was talking about that, sort of that muscle memory kicking in. Because they don't need 60% of the ball. They don't do anything with it.
All right, we'll go with Shay Charles, Ryan Fraser, Fellows, and then Adam Armstrong for the goal. Yeah. So there we go. Right. If you're enjoying the podcast, one of the best ways you can help us is by leaving us a quick review on your podcast app of choice. It only takes a minute, but it does make a huge difference when it comes to other Saints fans finding us. And obviously, the more stars and more nice words, the better. We do appreciate that. So thank you in advance. A couple of games to preview as well. We've got the trip to Liverpool in the League Cup third round on Tuesday night. That one's going to be live on ITV. We've kind of talked about a few of the changes, as Alfie, but this could. I was kind of thinking this is a game that none of us are bothered about, but actually, as we said, it might be a chance for Armstrong to come in, Harwood-Bellis to come out. You chuck in Alex McCarthy as well. And then a few players will have the opportunity to impress.
Yeah, well, I think it's a chance to win a place in the team, definitely, after the weekend. There are zero expectations on this game. I think Arne Slot has come out and said, and I think he even said, this might help Southampton a bit, which obviously it's not. But they are going to rotate players. So, he did say quite clearly, we're not going to see Virgil van Dijk. We're not going to see Ibu Konate, Mo Salah, Ryan Gravenberch, Szoboszlai. So a lot of that team's going to come out, but we've seen before that when you
Isaac and Wirtz, then
Isaac comes in.
Isaac, Wirtz, Ngomo, 16, but
£200 million players.
Federico Chiesa, Italian international. So they've got the players to win anyway. So if the operation is don't get hammered and put a good individual performance in. Show Will Steele why you should play on Saturday. And, you mentioned the players. Alex McCarthy is one of them for sure. Nathan Wood has to be one of them in terms of, show up now and you'll play on the weekend. Leo Cienza could potentially earn his way into the team, possibly. Jay Robinson, maybe. So there's a couple of players there that have to fight for their place in the team. And that's what I'm going to be watching out for, more so than the result, because nobody cares if we go through. Nobody wants to go through. Let's be frank, but let's just not get battered.
And it is a complete nonsense that we're playing them anyway, Glenn. I know we spoke about this when the draw was made, but this whole thing about the seeding, and then it's because they've got the games in Europe. And then he actually, he's already come out this week, as Alfie's alluded to, and told us which players aren't playing, and said that he's going to rest 6 or 7. So it's just an absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it's a shambles, and Liverpool traditionally do pretty well in this cup competition. So it's one of the games you don't want, and Liverpool away, obviously, because they usually get to the semi-final or the final. So, the fact that 6 or 7 teams were insulated from playing against Liverpool is just an absolute shambles. The integrity of the competition is mentioned quite a lot. You had the Crystal Palace shambles with them getting demoted out of the Europa League. So it's only integrity of the competition when they feel like it. The frustration for me that this only comes about because, they obviously needed to make all the European competitions bigger because they weren't big enough anyway. They didn't have enough fixtures in them. They'll be moaning about playing too many games. And the fact, Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that Arnie Slot has basically come out and with what he said, he could basically have played this game last week because he's going to put a different squad in place.
Well, that should be what they have to do. Like, let's be frank. They did it.
Well,
Liverpool did it in a cup game.
Liverpool did have to do it.
Yeah. Getting a cup game against Aston Villa a while ago, they had to play their 21s. And why don't they have to do it again? But that's a different point. We've been
and it's only for one round anyway, isn't it? I mean, I don't think this happens again. It's only for one round. So, yeah, it wouldn't kill them to have to play 2 days running with 2 separate squads, would it? Let's be honest. But,
it'll be typical Southampton for Florian Wirtz to get his first goal for Liverpool, though, as always.
Bound to. Well, and Isaac.
And Isaac, but that's less shameful.
Yeah,
I don't think so, no.
No. So, I mean, I agree with what with what you said. I kind of, because of the ridiculousness of the way the draw was handled, it would be nice to knock them out, obviously, and it would always be nice to beat Liverpool, but it's incredibly unlikely for very, very obvious reasons. I mean, there's a couple of other players who might come in. Yellett, I guess, might get given a game.
Yeah.
He possibly at left back. Ross Stewart probably should start this game just to give him a start because he was due to start the Norwich game, wasn't he? And he was ill. So
Joe Aribo on the bench.
Yeah, Joe Aribo and Sam Adozie might come into play. Tom Fellows is cup tied, so he's not going to play.
That's a good
Azaz, Finn Azaz is not cup tied, so he can play if necessary. But Fellows ain't going to play. So there's opportunities for for players to come in and, as you say, fight for a place at the weekend, which at the end of the day is a much more important game.
It's not worth more than that, is it, Steve? It is just about performances and trying to get a place in the team for Saturday.
Get through it and get through the game and with no injuries and hopefully some selection headaches for the manager in the good sense rather than like, oh Christ, these are all performing badly. Which ones do I chop and change, and which ones do I keep in? But yeah, as Glenn said, it's a game we don't need, a game that frankly we're unlikely to challenge them too much on. Although, in fairness, we played them 3 times last season and should have won at least one of those, if not 2. So it's not like
you're saying there's a chance.
Well, no, but we've at least been able to perform at a level to kind of keep in the game against them, and I think that is probably about the limit of our realistic expectations. I mean, you never know. I mean, teams like Liverpool, you put the reserves out, you chop and change that much, and you make it so obvious that you care so little about this game. There's that psychological thing where the players kind of subconsciously don't put in the effort that's required to get the game won. And all of a sudden, you then give us an opportunity. If we're then able to take that opportunity, then who knows? But no, I mean, it's a 5% chance at best, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's on ITV as well, so that's going to be.
They've had some cracking selections with us over the last few weeks, haven't they?
You never know. Of course, there is another game on Saturday, arguably, definitely the more important of the two. Yeah, I mean, how's this as a scenario? You point a young up-and-coming manager in the summer, you buy a couple of new players, you lose one of your star forwards, but you still manage to start the season with 16 points from a possible 18, and you've got a 4-point lead at the top of the championship. I mean, it seems like the stuff of dreams, and it's kind of how we thought our season might go, but not so far. You can't argue, Glenn, that Rob Edwards has done a pretty decent job, actually, in 6 years.
Absolutely not. And after the season he had at Luton last year, when he got appointed at Middlesbrough, I thought, has he done that? He's got the same agent as Ruben Selles. He's got him a job far above what he deserves. But you can't knock it because he's been brilliant, and they've had brilliant results. And anyone who starts with 5 wins and a draw out of 6 games is seriously to be reckoned with. I mean, when we played Stoke a few weeks ago, I think they'd started with I think it was just 2 wins, wasn't it? And you saw the difference playing a team with confidence against one that didn't quite have it. So it's shaping up for me a little bit like the Leeds game a couple of years ago when we'd lost 4 in a row and it was beginning to look a little bit dodgy, and people were not particularly enamoured with Russell Martin at that particular time because we'd lost those 4 games. And that was the game it clicked, obviously, and we were brilliant in that first half and blew them away. And we're kind of hoping that that's going to be the case, because they should go into this. I think they went into that Leeds game thinking we've really got to perform here, otherwise we're going to go under.
Yeah.
And they should be thinking that about this game, given the start that Middlesbrough have had. Anyone can win, 2 or 3 games, but to keep it going for 6, it shows that you're doing something fundamentally right. I mean, there's the irony of they sold us Finn Azaz and are now top of the league, and he hasn't done anything for us as yet. So there's that as well. A couple of other players they've got. Matt Targett is there now. He was a player I thought we might have considered at some point before we started signing kids from Germany and Turkey, but we didn't, and he's gone there and done pretty well. They kept hold of Hayden Hackney, which was I think selling Azaz enabled them to keep hold of him. He's done well, and I know they have Luke Ayling, he of the Ayling flop who used to play for Leeds
and Bristol City. With good proficiency, he did actually.
And Tommy Conway as well, who's ex-Bristol City, I understand.
From the same village as my girlfriend, my fiance.
Yeah. So I'm looking for you. Get that right.
Corrected.
Yeah. So
we'll correct that in the edit.
So I'm looking forward to Luke Ayling flopping on the ground with no one near him, because that's what he's famous for. But yeah, it's a huge
they got Alfie Jones as well. Once of this parish.
Oh yeah. He's another player who'd walk into our current team at the moment with his sort of like aerial dominance that he's got. So yeah, it's an interesting game for lots of reasons, and we really need a result from it. Atmosphere could get a little bit dodgy if we don't. But
that was the only thing I was thinking about, the atmosphere.
Yeah. So I remember saying all these things before that Leeds game 2 years ago, and we've got to hope that somehow that gets reenacted.
They're not going to be in the slightest bit worried about playing us, though, are they, Alfie? They're coming down with. I don't know if they've got a game midweek, but they're coming down with their tails up, and they probably know that we're going to at least give them a chance or two.
Yeah, well, they haven't got a game midweek, so they've got a full week to prepare for it as well, which obviously falls in their favour. I mean, you look at, obviously, Glenn's pointed out, or you pointed out, sorry, the 4 points top of the table and all this sort of stuff. They've not really been a swashbuckling attacking team on the numbers wise anyway. Their sort of XG and shots is in the bottom 5 or 6 teams of the league, but they've conceded the fewest chances pretty much all season out of anybody. So they're clearly a decent defensive unit. But what they have done since September the 1st is they signed a lad from Slovak Bratislava called David Strelec, who he's got 1 goal for them already. He's a striker for the same price as Saint Sport Damian Downs. He's got 1 goal already for them in the Championship, and he also scored a great goal against Germany in the international break. And he looks like a really good buy. So they've got a quality defence on numbers. They don't concede many chances, and they've just gone and added somebody who looks like a really good centre forward for this level. So yeah, that's why they're right up there. And it's a massive test. This is why we need to beat the teams like Hull. But at the end of the day, Saints have got a good squad as well. We just have to hope for a better performance than what we've seen so far. We can't really talk too much about the team and stuff like that, because I think we need to see from Tuesday night and see a lot of what happens and how players react. But yeah, that's Middlesbrough in a little whistle-stop tour.
They have said as well, Steve, I think Rob Edwards said after the West Brom game, they've not quite found their level yet. So he's kind of saying, well, we're doing all right, but like Alfie said, there's still a bit of room for improvement as well. So it's I don't think any of us had them down as being early leaders, did we?
No, I thought they might struggle this season, to be honest. Michael Carrick kind of underachieved, I think, with the squad that he had last season. They've always been able to rely on getting good quality loans in. They've used the loan market really well, but they've just never been able to kind of keep those players beyond that loan period. So they obviously had Cameron Archer a number of years back, and he got 15 goals in the second half of the season to get him into the playoffs. And they've got this young lad from Man City on loan now, who's kind of being eased into the team, I think, but he's He seems to be kind of earmarked as the next big thing. And Boro have managed to get him on loan, which you kind of think, well, how have they managed that? But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he gets on, young Norwegian lad. Looking at sort of fan reaction to how Boro have started the season, does sound as if they've ground out results, and as Alfie rightly said, they don't give up many chances. They've been a little bit unconvincing. I think they were okay against Sheffield United. I remember watching that when we were in the pub before the Watford game. They beat Sheffield United 1-0. Probably could have been a couple more with sort of misses on the counter-attack in injury time, but they were under the cosh for a fair amount of that game. And that was the Ruben Sellers Sheffield United. So I don't think they're perfect. I mean, and also the reason they haven't got a game this midweek, first round of the Carabao Cup, they got humped 4-0 at home by Doncaster.
Right.
So I mean, that was like 2 games in. You're thinking Rob Edwards is already under pressure. They've beaten. I think they squeezed past Swansea on the opening day. But then you go and then do that in your second game, and already you're thinking, oh God, this might not work out particularly well. But credit to Rob Edwards, he's steadied the ship, which is something he very much couldn't do, as Glenn said, at Luton last season when they went down. I mean, Luton's still crap, even having gone down again in League One. They're really struggling. So I mean, maybe it's just the environment. He's gone to Middlesbrough, and they've had a little bit of a freshen up. Made a couple of interesting signings, and just in key areas. Really, they've not gone wholesale, but yeah, they at least look organised, which obviously bodes ill for us on Saturday at the moment.
It comes back to what we said earlier on, though, wasn't it? If he'd have been putting our manager in the summer, there'd been outrage. We'd have been like, "What on earth's going on?" And you never know, do you? You never know. Predictions League. Here's an interesting one. Over 130 entries last week. Nobody got the correct score. Nobody had us down for a 3-1 defeat on the road. But 6 people did predict we were going to lose. So kudos to those 6. They will get themselves some points. We're going to do our little predictions now. If you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login. You'll find the leaderboard and how to play on the website. So head to totalsaints.co.uk. Who wants to go first? Glenn, do you want to go first? You were talking about that. You were talking about that Leeds game from the last Championship season and how things turn around. So that would lead me to believe that you were going to predict a home win for this.
Oh no, it doesn't mean I think it will happen. It'd be nice if it did. But
you set out such a great case.
No, I didn't. I just said it. It's a similar. It feels similar 1 week out. Bearing in mind the results that we've had and going into this game against top of the league or whatever. So I do think we have to think we're going to be better than we were against Hull, and we're not going to just capitulate and give away crap goals every time they get in our penalty area. But Middlesbrough being decent defensive and not outstanding attack wise. I think it's a low scoring game, so I'm going to go for the boring old 1-1 draw.
A 1-1 draw, Alfie.
Yeah, I would have gone for the 1-1 draw as well, but I will take the. I don't know what to go for now. I'll take a. I can't do that, can I? There'll be a mistake somewhere. I honestly don't know. I'm not just trying to deliberate it. I'll go for a 1-0 Middlesbrough win, which is horrendous. But
Steve.
I kind of fancy it'll be a back to basics. Let's just kind of get ourselves vaguely organised type of game from our perspective. It's not going to be a thriller, and it'll have a lot of people getting on the teams back in sort of deep into the second half. But I think we'll get a point out of it, and it'll be 0-0.
Going for the 0-0. All right. As I say, if you're watching live, you can stick your predictions in the comments. That's fine. But if you want to play along with our little league that we do, head over to it's totalsaints.co.uk. You need your Patreon login, and then you can jump on there and see the leaderboard as well. Any other little bits before we finish? In the WSL2 today, Southampton lost at home Bristol City, still 5th in the table.
The goal scored in one of the last minutes by Lexi Lloyd-Smith, who obviously left Southampton last year.
That's going to hurt a bit, isn't it? That's going to be.
Yeah, she milked it again. Apparently,
there's beef there for some reason.
Well, I don't think she'll be able to kind of hide behind the excuse she gave this time last year, when she said, "Oh no, I was just worked up and wanted to. I wasn't pointing at anybody in particular."
Yeah.
Not sure that's going to fly this time.
Odd one. Any other little bits before we finish?
Yeah, a couple of little bits. I mean, the under-21s, I did shout out the Burnley game at St Mary's on Friday night. They did win 2-1 again. I think it was Romeo Makachukwu and another goal scorer whose name has escaped me, unfortunately. Moses Cisse. So they're doing really well, sort of top end of the table. And a couple other quick stats on the first team as well. I mean, they're bottom 3 in the league for winning aerial duels, which is a surprise to nobody, obviously. And
who's below us?
Who's below us? I can find that in 2 seconds. Norwich City are by far the worst, and then Sheffield Wednesday slightly worse.
Wow. Okay.
But Middlesbrough in the top 6 for area.
Of course.
Also, lead into opposition shots. Saints are second most in the league. So again, sort of coming up with our own ways to put some goals.
Bodes well, doesn't it, for the week ahead? And everything else that follows. It's going to be a busy one. You can follow the Total Saints podcast on all the usual social media platforms. Just have a search for Total Saints Pod, and you can check out all the merch that we've got for sale as well. All the lovely t-shirts and coasters and mugs and things. It's shop.totalsaints.co.uk. As I mentioned earlier, you'll also find us on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contributions. You just head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. Each of the tiers comes with different perks each week, including some shout outs at the end of the pod for all the patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, and David Mansell. They're all in our Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are all in our Mick Shannon tier. Thank you as well to Paul Castle Associates and our friends at Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Alfie. Thank you to Glenn. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will see you again next week.